G'day guys and welcome to ReDriven. Now before we get into this, I have to apologise for the audio. It's currently pissing down outside, hence why there's like a bit of a weird white noise going on. Now normally our top 5 lists are made up of like top 5 first cars under $5,000 or top 5 underrated SUVs, stuff like that. But this week we're going to do something a little bit different. These are the top 5 modifications that will make your car faster. But we're not talking specifically like about drag racing, because if you want to beat somebody in a straight line, it's easy. Just go buy a Tesla Model S Plaid, job done. We're talking about making your car faster and more enjoyable in the real world through some corners like on a mountain road or maybe at a track day or maybe even if you're running late for work. These modifications will make your car faster everywhere. So what are the 5 modifications? Let's get started. Now, when you think faster car, chances are you just think more power, yeah? Well, look, it's not that you're wrong, but you kind of are wrong, but we'll get to that in a sec. But there are more efficient ways to make your car faster. Let's start with diffs. See, power is nothing without traction. So while you might have hundreds of horsepower, if you can't transfer that power to the ground, what's the point? This is where a limited slip differential comes in. In a 2-wheel drive, the diff will send power to both driving wheels, or in an all-wheel drive setup, equally to 2 or possibly all 4 wheels, obviously depending on the setup and the configuration. This way, more power is being sent to more of the road, both in a straight line and through corners, therefore making your car faster. Plus, theoretically, adding a diff shouldn't have many negative impacts on long-term mechanical reliability. We've actually tested adding purely a diff to this GR Yaris. Initially, this GR was a base model, not the rally spec with the factory-fitted diffs, but we fitted the diffs, and while the car was great without them in standard form, it has become a rocket ship even with just the rear diff fitted. Just adding the rear diff has made this thing noticeably faster everywhere, in some cases more than 1.5 seconds per lap. Next up, it's the brakes. Look, it's one thing to go fast, but being able to dive later and deeper under brakes will allow you to keep that right foot planted for longer, providing a longer period of acceleration before you have to wash off that speed for the next corner. Plus, a quality brake upgrade will give you better balance and more confidence when aggressively slowing down, and should theoretically reduce your braking distances in case of an emergency when you're driving on the streets. But what are we talking here? Well, look, obviously it depends on the budget, but if money is tight, start with fitting a quality set of performance pads, some upgraded brake lines, and performance brake fluid to your car's standard brake setup. This will make a noticeable difference, but if you can spend some more money, you should look at upgrading the calipers and rotors as well. From there, certain cars, generally some older ones, can benefit from having their brake master cylinders braced or supported, and even fitting a quality set of pedals can provide more confidence, and the right set, installed properly, can assist with the pedal placement and geometry for heel-toe style braking or blipping the throttle while braking hard into a corner. Now, theoretically, the more contact that the tyre has with the road, the more grip the car is going to have, and therefore, the faster it should be. Hence why third place is so important. It's suspension. Look, again, it's one thing to have hundreds of horsepower or the biggest brakes, but if the tyres aren't making optimal contact with the road, all of that power is going to be lost, and you're not going to be going fast. Plus, a car that bounces all over the place even in a straight line or acts unpredictably through a corner won't exactly fill you with confidence or allow you to extract the best possible performance from the car. A serious suspension setup will make your car faster everywhere. Providing a larger and more consistent contact patch with the road, proper suspension will improve braking and acceleration, not just handling. But the thing is, we see loads of people making mistakes when it comes to suspension. Simply fitting lowered springs will not make your car faster. If anything, it might actually slow it down. Look, yes, lowering it will drop the center of gravity, but as the strut or shock absorber is designed to work at its best with a specific spring rate, lowering the car to a point where the shock absorber is now outside of its optimal working area can just upset the ride quality and make the car nervous and bouncy over bumps. Secondly, fitting cheap coilovers will most likely do more harm than good. Brand name coilovers are expensive because these companies spend millions of dollars and thousands of hours researching and developing their components so they perform at their absolute best for you. Whereas cheap inferior components will perform inconsistently. And guys, the last thing you want is to be hammering around some corner only to hit a bump and for the dodgy suspension that you fitted to bounce you and the car over the bump and send you deep into the scenery. Thirdly, look, it's one thing to have the best equipment fitted, but it needs to be set up right. From the geometry involved in a proper wheel alignment, to calibrating the strut's correct rebound setting in comparison to the spring rate, the sway bar diameter, and even the brand and model of the tyre fitted, having an expert tune your suspension will make a world of difference. Too often we see or even drive cars that have their suspension set up way too firm. The car bounces and jiggles all over the place and it can't pitch or roll or help absorb inconsistencies on the road surface. If you want your car to be fast, its suspension needs to be set up correctly. Okay, next up, it's the one part of the car that actually touches the road and the thing that that part is attached to. It's the tyres and the wheels, or wheels and tyres. Tyres and wheels. Let's start with the wheels. Nothing can change the look of a car like a fresh set of wheels, but if you're looking for performance, you want something light. The lighter the wheel, the less the rotating mass and the lighter the unsprung weight. And the less the rotating mass and lighter the unsprung weight, the easier or more efficient it is for the wheels to accelerate, stop and turn, therefore making your car faster everywhere. Plus, depending on your car, an aftermarket set of wheels might give you more choices when it comes to performance tyres. And speaking of tyres, as we just mentioned, this is the one part of the car that actually touches the ground. And if you want to go fast, great tyres are critical. It's amazing how often we see people spending thousands of dollars on engine mods to create more horsepower, only to fit that car with some cheap set of tyres. That would be like Usain Bolt spending his lifetime training to be the fastest human ever, only to head to the track wearing Ugg boots. It's just dumb. Plus, many seem to think that the larger the wheel and the more thin the tyre profile, the faster the car. Nope, generally speaking, that's wrong. Like, unless of course the car is specifically set up for this combination. But unless you're driving on a surface as smooth as a billiard table, fitting ultra large wheels and almost painted on tyres will generally ruin the ride quality and handling characteristics. And again, if you hit a decent sized bump or pothole, it could end in disaster. If you want a fast car, there are endless choices when it comes to performance tyres, and which ones are best for you comes down to what skills you need those tyres to provide. While a set of semi-slicks might be the fastest on a dry circuit, they might be utter rubbish in the wet, making your drive to work bloody dangerous if it's raining. Plus, they can be incredibly noisy on the freeway and tend to wear very quickly. But luckily, all of the major tyre manufacturers will have something that should suit your needs and even your driving style. Now guys, if you're enjoying this video, can I ask a favor? Can you please hit those like, subscribe and bell buttons, and can you share this video as much as you can, because the more you hit those buttons and the more you share this, the more of these videos we can make. Finally, if you really want to go fast, this is the most effective modification that you can make. It's you. You could make all of the modifications on this list and so many more, but if the person behind the wheel doesn't know what they're doing, or maybe they've spent more time working on the car's skills instead of their own, the car itself won't ever reach its full potential. Look at it this way. You could go and buy a Gordon Ramsay cookbook, go and buy all of his knives and pots and pans, buy the exact same ingredients as Gordon Ramsay, but we guarantee, unless you've spent years honing your cooking skills, exactly like Gordon Ramsay, your meal won't come close to his. And the same goes for driving. You could spend thousands of dollars on modifications, but if you lack the skills to get the best out of these mods, you just won't be as fast or, more importantly, as safe as you should be. So how do you go about this most important of modifications? Guys, go and get some serious driver coaching. Even the best drivers in the world get coaching, with the likes of Formula One's Kimi Räikkönen, Valtteri Bottas and Charles Leclerc all being coached while driving at the absolute pinnacle of motorsport. So if superhuman drivers like these guys can see genuine value in getting coaching, it's an absolute no-brainer that having professional help to hone your skills will be hugely beneficial. Guys, I've done it. I've been driving fast cars on roads and on tracks for, a couple of decades, but nothing has made the impact on my driving like professional driver coaching. All the power upgrades and sticky tires and big brakes and suspension, look, they're all great, but in terms of performance upgrades, nothing comes close to having a driver coach teach you the tricks of the trade. Now guys, what did you think of the list? Let us know in those comments below. Oh, and remember, can you please hit those like, subscribe and bell buttons, and go and check us out on the socials and share this video as much as you can, because the more you do all of that stuff, the more of these videos we can make. See you next time. Just go buy a Tesla Model. We're talking about making a car faster, both in the real world and on, what am I saying? I'm writing words again that I can't speak and talk right. Consistent contact patch the road. And speaking of tyres, this is the most effective modification by the exact same ingredient. Will make a huge, so close and I f***ed it. Because the more you do all of that, the more of these videos. Are you going to make these modifications, especially the last one? Let us know in those comments. And remember,